Here we go. Hello, everyone. This is Bobby C. And as Bobby C sees it, I have a channel on Facebook. I have a channel on Instagram, a lot of different things. It's called Anonymous Addiction. My truth about AA as Bobby C sees it. So this is going to be as Bobby C sees it, but it's also going to be as Monica sees it too, because I like to have everybody else's opinions, beliefs, ideas, what their research, what they researched, and what they discovered. So this is about freedom of speech here too. Okay, we're not blocking anybody's speech here because, well, look, Facebook went down for a couple hours. Personally, I think it shut down just to say to us, hey, you think you can do without me? Watch this. I'll shut you down for a couple hours and you'll be jonesing. Okay. So, but I'll tell you what, I'm so happy to have Monica Richardson on my podcast. Okay. Last week, I was on Monica's podcast and we put that out to our special groups. Me and Monica have some groups, deprogramming groups on AA, on the cult mentality of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we're helping people deprogram. We're helping members, one member at a time, deprogram from Alcoholics Anonymous mentality. That's what we're doing, one member at a time. And that's all it takes. Right? Monica, to you. Let me hear it. Give a little shout out to yourself, will you please?
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Bobby C, for having me on your podcast and your YouTube channel. Bobby reminds me of fellow New Yorkers that I grew up with. And so when I first heard his voice, I was like, who is this dude? And so I really enjoy listening to you. I think you're a funny guy. And the two of us were in AA for kind of a similar time. I'm Monica Richardson. A lot of people know me. I made the 13th Step to Film, the documentary. It's available on Amazon. It's available for free if you have Prime. It's on Vimeo and Tubi for free. TUBI. It's free if I think you put in your email. And it's only $1.99 on Vimeo if you want to buy it. I have a blog talk radio that's Safe Recovery, and that are hundreds of episodes, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I did it as a way to express myself where I felt like I could not and was not being heard. And so I began this blog talk radio. And lately I started to feel like we needed to be seen, that those were great and you could listen, but I started to watch these podcasters over this last 18 months and thought, I want others to be seen and I wanted to be seen and speak my mind about the problems that I see, because I created these groups in Facebook, Leaving AA, Deprogramming from AA, any 12-step group, and now Exposing AA Activism, which was a group created a couple of years ago, but there was no action. It's like I didn't really try to organize. It was more of like, having people have a place to come. But over the pandemic, I noticed that a lot of people were leaving, and the group went from 500 to 1,300, both of the groups. And the stories, Bobby, were so horrific of psychological and emotional abuse that likened to a cult that I was so upset about that I thought, I just wanted it to be a place. And I was like, you know what, something needs to happen here. This needs to stop. And at the same point, I had been talking to a lot of professionals, pilots and nurses, doctors and lawyers had contacted me who are sent there. And that's another story that I really care about. I don't know why, but I just care that a lot of professionals are being forced to go to Alcoholics Anonymous like it's a professional setting, which it's not. And it's a bunch of numbnuts sitting around. It's a bunch of lay persons, unprofessionals sitting around sharing their stories. But it isn't just that. It's not benign as that. It's not a safe place. It's not like what we see on television and Hollywood, which we're going to talk about. There is a ton of psychological and emotional abuse, as well as people playing doctor, telling people what they can be on and what they can't be on. And like, as the woman in our group tonight told us, how they should dress, that she shouldn't wear makeup, that she should dress down, that, it's like, who are you people? Well, that is a subcult. That's the Pacific group. Clancy Esplin is gone. Ismailin is gone. Thank goodness he's passed on. but these people are still carrying on. And I cannot believe in 2021, Bobby, that there are still these kind of meetings that have this kind of hold on people where they feel like when they leave that they're going to go kill themselves sober.
Yeah,
That's nuts.
No, that's crazy. What Monica's talking about, and we're talking about Alcoholics Anonymous, the hierarchy pyramid, monopoly cult scheme. It was a scheme. It was well designed and created scam. That's what it was. Way back, way back. I go back in history. I connect the dots and follow the money, and it's amazing when we start uncovering, recovering, and discovering the truth about Alcoholics Anonymous. And that's what Monica and I have. We have this like passion. I mean, some people won't understand it. They'll say, Bobby, Monica, why do you always hit the bash Alcoholics Anonymous? You know what?
Right.
It's almost like we have a responsibility to do it.
Yep.
We were in so long, and we know the workings of it, the inner workings of this program, because it's layered. It's layered. I always say I like the upside down pyramid where the people are up top, that's where the freedom is. But the triangle is when you go up to top, there's only 21 people controlling the whole thing with the trustees. It's amazing.
Right.
We don't want to get into the whole mechanism of this.
Yeah, we should do a podcast just on that, Bobby, because you should see who's on the board and who's been on the board. They just added 2 more judges this past year to their board.
That's where it's at. That's where it's at.
I'm writing it down. Okay. Let's tear up. Let's tear up
the trustees.
The structure of AA in New York. Okay. GSO. Okay, yeah.
Alcoholics Anonymous is made up of 2. You know what I found out? I'm telling you, I just found this out. It's made up of 3 corporations, not 2. Okay. Right. Look, we're controlled by steps. Me and Monica talked about this on the last podcast. I mean, the mechanism is so brainwashing. I'm going to use some words here: mind control, brainwashing, coercive persuasion, manipulation, indoctrination, propaganda. It's all rolled up in one. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, wait till you get into the fact of where it's all connected. This thing, look, I was raised a Catholic. I didn't ask for it. My mom gave it to me. My mom gave me her Catholicism. I did every little thing that the Catholic Church had to make me do because to be a good boy so I can go to heaven. Okay, so I know what a religion looks like, feels like, and smells like. All right. This thing is so connected to the Catholic religion, you will not. I did a podcast on this. People never heard of Matt Talbert. Matt Talbert is the patron saint, which he's going to be canonized for alcoholism. Alcoholics Anonymous and AA. I used to go to Matt Talbert retreats, and I don't have it in front of me, but I can read it to you. They follow all the 12 steps and Alcoholics Anonymous programs, all through the whole world. Matt Talbert retreats. The Catholic Church and Matt Talbert is so connected. It's really it's crazy. Okay, yeah. Even Gregory Tobin, who is the CEO and president of the GSO, the World Service Organization, look him up and you'll find out how connected he is to the Catholic Church.
Really? Is he?
Oh yeah. To the Catholic religion and the Catholic Church. All we're saying here is it's a lot of connect. That's why we're going to be talking about Hollywood, how Hollywood propaganda, World War I, World War II, they used it to control our minds and it is a information, facts, arguments, rumors, false truths, and lies to influence the public's opinion. That's what propaganda is. That's what Hollywood's all about. Hollywood is all. It's another arm. It's another arm of you have politics, you have religion, you have media, and you have Hollywood. It's just another arm of control. Back to you, Monica. What do you have to say on that?
Yeah, well, I didn't know about Greg Tobin there, but so I have here this book, and it's about Marty Mann, right? And this book here, so I mean, the stuff in this is kind of crazy. This was like about Hughes, about Howard Hughes, and he was a senator, and he tried to convince the Senate that alcoholism was a disease, and they said, no, it's not. And no, it's not. And it went on for 20 years. They hammered this shit. And then finally, and the way they tell the story here, they kind of gave in, right? They just kind of said, oh my, it's like beating a dead horse. And they wouldn't stop beating that dead horse until they said that the AMA, the American Medical Association, that they were trying to get them to call it a disease. Why? So they could get insurance to pay for AA treatment. So rehab started a long time ago, and it started with Bill. They like to tell AA members, when you're good little AA members like Bobby C and I sat in those big book studies and the 12 and 12, that stupid 12 and 12, that about how, Bill wanted to do all this, but that didn't really happen. And we were so altruistic. No, they weren't. In the 40s, the first place that started, I believe it's in Connecticut, and Bill was very, very involved. Now, he didn't get paid there for that, but that's where the whole idea of using Alcoholics Anonymous as a, the program. And I'm going to tell you something, even as an 18-year-old, when I was reading that book and I was like studying it, and I was like, okay, like, where's the program? Like, where's the program? I was pretty smart. It doesn't matter that I took the path that I did. And it was like those 12 steps. And then the stuff after that, it didn't make any sense to me. Like, if you get out a Smart Recovery workbook, that's a program that's using CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And, but man, they got in Washington, they got in through Marty. And then when they got into Hollywood, which is with Marty, and it wasn't Lillian Gish. I don't think it was Lillian Gish. I forget her. I can't believe. But anyway, they got out here. She had a drinking problem too. Super famous actress. And her husband was like a diehard drunk, the actress that I'm forgetting her name. Sorry. But then Marty, who was lesbian, Priscilla was her lover. And Priscilla, so they come out to Hollywood, but then they didn't have to go anywhere in New York. She was working for Vogue. And through that, they had the connections with this. And we talked about this last time, the Saturday Evening Post. But this is a really big deal, because when you have that kind of that she's your partner, and then she works there, it's like a shoe-in. And there really was no other help. Like Gabrielle Glaser says in her book, like at the time, when I interviewed her, that there wasn't anything else, but there kind of was. They were using belladonna treatment along with heavy sedatives to detox a person. But, the whole Rockefeller thing too, right, is a really big enmeshment. He hated alcohol. He was a teetotaler. He didn't drink. Rockefeller's father didn't drink. They were from Ohio. Okay, both of these guys, Bob, whatever, Dr. Bob, who was a lousy proctologist, came from Ohio, in Akron, where they have these big motorcycle thing, every year to like go pray on the graves of like Bill and Bob Wilson. I guess it's Dr. Bob or whatever. And that these people were so amazing. Well, back to Rockefeller. When I read about him, that he hated alcohol and he didn't like it, and it's like prohibition. It's an extension of prohibition, which ended in 1933. But it didn't end, because these fuckers come along. I can swear on here, right? They come along and they bring in, and his father was also a teetotaler. They actually even believed, when you read this history of him, you might know it, but when I found it out, I was shocked. They thought that the theater was evil, that music, everything but church and the family. That was the only thing that was okay with the Rockefeller family. Why? Because if you go back to Grandpa, so Grandpa was a drunk, and he was a really bad drunk. And I don't know enough, to go back that far, but it's very, very clear in the historical background of him. Anyway, so that's the Rockefellers. And then you have Hollywood over here on the West Coast. And then they got into DC, and then the American Medical Association calling it a disease when it isn't a disease. Back to you.
Yeah, look. Me and Monica just jumped on here tonight. We had a meeting prior to this. I said, Monica, come on my podcast. She didn't even eat yet. You know, we're over here just jamming one in. So I just want to get something on. I just wanted to get Monica's face on my podcast, tell you the truth. But here's the deal.
This is good.
Listen to this. I've been saying this for a while now. I did a podcast, Connect the Dots and Follow the Money. Alcoholics Anonymous. Now listen to me very clearly. Alcoholics Anonymous is Rockefeller's temperance movement. He created Alcoholics Anonymous. Bill W. had nothing, absolutely probably zero to do to create this multi-level. This Alcoholics Anonymous is so complex, it'll spin your head around when we start showing you how complex this is. Not organized. This thing is one of the well-greased organizations that you'll ever see in the world.
Not highly organized.
In the world. Okay.
What bullshit.
Rockefeller's seen this. He was watching this 3-4 years prior when Bill and Bob, Bill was broke for many years. Do you know that Alcoholics Anonymous was not self-supported? It took them 10 years to get self-supported. Who do you think supported all that stuff? Who do you think backed it all? Rockefeller made sure that he created Alcoholics Anonymous Foundation. He knew more about nonprofits and foundations than anyone in the world. Okay,
that's true.
So he designed this whole he didn't care about them. He cared about control. Rockefeller family just has one thing in mind, is control. Okay, he wanted to way back before I get in. See, to understand the hierarchy of Alcoholics Anonymous, you have to go back in history and understand the temperance movement and prohibition, and understand Rockefeller's oil industry. Okay, now we're not going to go get into that right now with how he hijacked, because Rockefeller hijacked the AMA and took over the whole medical industry, because before he created the new modernization of the medical industry, it was all holistic. It was holistic studies. And he changed it into quackery. He made everybody doing holistic studies quacks. He put millions and millions of dollars into creating all the schools, manipulating all the education. Everything educated is bought and paid for. Now let me go quickly over from Rockefeller over to, like Monica brought up, Marty Mann. Marty Mann and Jelinek, which we all know. See, Rockefeller was
watching. The Jelinek curve? Is that the Jelinek?
Yeah. He was the scientist. See, they had to have scientists. He was a nut. Okay. So they haven't had a scientist. So he really pushed the disease concept. So Marty Mann, Bill Wilson was sponsoring Marty Mann. So Marty Mann, Jelinek, and the Smithers Foundation. Oh, you want to see something? Look up the Smithers Foundation. Look up Christopher Smithers, founder of IBM. Amazing. He pumped $10 million into the education of alcoholism. And he used Marty Mann because Marty Mann was like buddies with Bill W. So Marty, they used Marty to promote Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, it's all connected.
That's a lot of money for those dollars in those. If it's 10 million back then, that would be worth like $100 million. So can I? The alcohol industry blamed, so it was called demon rum, right? Remember that? So demon rum, they were always blaming alcohol, not the person. The alcohol industry must have loved when AA came along too, because it was no longer blaming the alcohol, it was blaming you, Bobby, and me. We were alcohol. For those of you who are listening out there who don't really know AA, that if they tell you are selfish and self-centered to the extreme, now labeling every person with this identity that they are selfish and self-centered. It's your fault, not alcohol's fault. So now alcohol industry is like, wow, we got them off our backs, right? It's now those people's faults, right? Oh my God.
Exactly. So, let me just jump in there because we're going to be doing, I'm going to be doing, if Monica wants to do a podcast about this, but I'm serious about this. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. You're right. You're exactly right. They made us victims in the beginning. Yep. We're the victims because we're a victim of a disease. Okay. Matter of fact, you don't even have to take responsibility for it. You can give your care, you can give your will and your life over to our care. We'll take care of you. Okay. And matter of fact,
don't sitting in the bottom of a fucking church.
Right.
Okay?
And don't have any opinions though, because the traditions we create these traditions to keep you silent. And you know why they want to keep us silent? Exactly what you just said, because they don't want AA and NA was designed to silence us, not to talk about the alcohol and pharmaceutical industry. And guess who's going to start really talking about it? Because them son of a bitches, they're so powerful. The alcohol industry, the lobbyists for alcohol and pharmaceutical industry is incredible. No one ever talks about them. Oh, it's you got to take responsibility for yourself. Hey, look, I'm taking responsibility for myself today. I believe in the power of choice. I don't believe in prohibition. I believe everyone has a choice. You want to drink, drink. If you do, but why not look at the alcohol industry and all the devastating consequences it has on society for forever. Okay. And I'm not down in drinking. I'm down.
Yeah, I don't have actually a problem with the alcohol industry. I have a problem with the pharmaceutical though.
Well,
if you wanna, like for me, the pharmaceutical industry is a whole nother thing. I mean, for me, that's a little, yeah.
Well, the only reason why I say is because the promotion, the way they promote it to children, and look, you got the alcohol industry, pharmaceutical industry, and tobacco industry.
What about Hollywood in Wreck-It Ralph in a cartoon that's geared for toddlers to be promoting Alcoholics Anonymous meetings? Like I put it in the film where they have kids sit, these characters, they weren't children, right? They're sitting around in a meeting. I was like, you're normalizing sitting in a meeting to toddlers? Like it was no longer funny. There was cute aspects to that film, but I was in the middle of making my film when we were trying to find examples of how Hollywood was, putting these in. It was like one thing to make The Lost Weekend with a fucking drunk who's 50 years old, to children, to normalizing that sitting in groups where they go, I mean, you see it in ads for whether it's Geico, I don't know if it's Geico, but insurance ads where like you sit around and go, hi, my name is so, and I'm like, really guys? Like, are all of you guys ad executives now? Are steppers too? It's not funny to me. It's
okay,
like,
talk about the other Hollywood movies. What do you talk? Because you know a bunch of Mom's one, right?
Okay, but you know what? So opening this up. So big move. Alcoholics Anonymous was dying. It was flatlining for years. 1975 comes, and they hold a press conference. They hold a press conference in DC, and guess who's there, Bobby? Let me tell you who's there. Buzz Aldrin goes to them. I actually heard him speak at a meeting in Honolulu. This is Harold Hughes. He's the guy who was the senator. Dana Andrews, Gary Moore, Dick Van Dyke, Mercedes McCambridge, Wilbur Mills, and of course, Marty. And that was the biggest growth period. So what about promotion? Oh, we can't say anything, Bobby, but the big famous people, it's okay for them to stand there and say, we're alcoholics and we're members of AA, and this is a great, wonderful thing. Yay. And Alcoholics Anonymous grew.
No. Hey, look, attraction against promotion. That's all bullshit. Okay, that is the biggest crock of shit. They want to say that to us because they want us to keep silent. You know why? Because we're stupid. Okay, we don't know nothing on the lower level where all the people are. We're just volunteers and helping save lives, right? So we better keep quiet. But they'll let, like Monica said, you know why? They use them as puppets. They're Hollywood puppets to promote their agenda. And the agenda is to promote Alcoholics Anonymous because Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous can keep us in place. Okay. It's a big coercive persuasion, manipulation, indoctrination, brainwashing, cult mentality, you know. And people could say stuff about oh, you're going to hurt people. Now we're trying to free them. We're trying to free people because they're taking their life and their will over for life, their will and their care over for life, and recruiting others for life. I mean, that's the deal. That's the deal.
Yeah. So the good point is, if you're out there listening and look, I've met people where I couldn't believe that I would be at a party, say, with my husband, and we'd be at sort of, different kinds of people who work in the film and television animated business. And they're like, oh, I think that, what do you call it? That, oh, what do you do? Oh, I made a film about what? Okay, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, my father went to AA. AA saved my father's life. He has 25 years. Oh, no. I don't totally literally get up and walk away from me. So that you have these people that maybe attended a meeting or two with their parents, maybe didn't, watched him go from a falling down drunk to now a stand-up sober guy. But, if that guy never stops going to meetings, I think there's a little something wrong with that. So if somebody has to go there forever, the kind of stories that we're hearing in these groups, in these Facebook groups today, happening in 2021, not 10 years ago, not 20 years, not 40 years ago or 37 years ago. This is now that kind of shit that I'm hearing of what is being said to people, how they're being treated, telling them they have to go to 2 meetings here and a meeting there. Like one woman, she was just in here, she has 3 years. And they were telling her she had to go to 6 meetings a week. Why? When I went to AA, nobody told you that. I said, well, how often do you go? They said, well, whatever you need. Like if you need to go once a week, some people go once a week, some people go twice. There was nobody telling you to go at 6 a.m. every morning like this was church. Even church, come on. The Catholic Church, you don't go to church every morning unless you're a really super duper devout Catholic. We went once a week. It's bad.
Yeah, no,
it's a cult.
No,
it's a cult.
Look, members that love Alcoholics Anonymous want to stay. We're not telling you to. We're not bad mouthing. Me and Monica used to be members, so we're not bad mouthing members. We're exposing. This is what we are. We're conspiracy exposers. Okay. We're exposing the lies and telling some truths that we found out. Now, it might not be true to you today, but these are the truths that we found out through many, many, many years through experience. Time is just a bunch of experience, good, bad, and everything in between. These coins that they give you, look, they give you these coins, they give you all these coins. I got 30 years coins, 35, 25, 30. I got
what are
these
you doing
coins.
still with those coins?
No, look, Monica. I just found them. I dug them out this week. I found them. Look, see, look. Here. See this? It's a trash can. There they go. There they go. These are, you know what these are? Symbolic. They're symbolisms. They're symbolic things that keep you tied to your ego. Oh, God forbid, I got 90 days.
Now I got a year. On time.
Just ego, just how they get you and suck you in with the time. Time is irrelevant. Time is bullshit. You know what? No one has more time than anybody else. That's the secret of that power now. We all have right now. It doesn't matter. 1 year, 20 years, 15 years. They used to call people elder statesmen. You know who an elder statesman was? It was a person that sat back in a room with 20 years, said nothing, did nothing and said nothing. And people used to, oh, you know what I was? I told Monica, I was a bleeding deacon because I was a little rebellious. Rebellious is good. Okay. So if you're a little rebellious in AA, speak out. You want to lead. We have the Deprogramming podcast going on, and we help people to leave. But we're not telling people just to leave. Transition. Find some other things out in the beginning if you're new or something, and maybe you need some things. We're talking about, look, if you need detox, get it. We believe that 100%. If you're detoxing and you need detox, go get detox. But all these treatment centers, we're going to be talking about the recovery trap in the prison.
Man, there is so much stuff, but I want to back up because I feel differently than you do about bad-mouthing members, because I actually am bad-mouthing. There are very, very bad members in there, as well as there are good members. There are some disgusting people that are calling themselves sponsors. All they are people. So if you don't know, if you're in AA, you know what a sponsor is. They're nobody. They're just like Bobby. They're a person. They're not trained. They have no background. They're not a social worker. They're not a therapist. They're just a person. But I am actually saying, I'm criticizing some of the people that are in there, that were in there when I was in there and young, that were a piece of crap to me as a very, very young girl, an 18-year-old. And the things that I saw and the stories I hear now are done by the people. They're not done by the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, the book has got the brainwashing going on, but it's the people that are implementing even things that are not even in the book. They're making crap up, and they're saying.
Now, look, let me rephrase this. When I say I don't like to bash the members, I'm talking about good human beings. I'm not talking about psychopath, pedophilias. I'm not talking about people that go after women and molest people and rape people, and they're pieces of shit. Okay,
and those people are in AA. If you don't know that guy, they're in AA.
I know it. I know it 100%. I know it 100%. No, I'm with you 100% because what you've been doing for so many years, you still continue doing. So because the courts are set, see, that's why the court system, the state and government is connected. The courts send them to Alcoholics Anonymous, and they just got out of prison or whatever. They could be sex offenders. They could, you know why? Because they understand that there's vulnerable people in Alcoholics Anonymous and in narcotics, and they're vulnerable. They're victims. I said there were victims. So I'm talking about not the psycho, because I'll badmouth them, and I'll expose them every day with Monica every second. Okay, I'm with everybody on that. No,
I do know what you mean, but I'm kind of a stickler for this because I do think that we all know, of course, they're good people. There's like good people everywhere. Like Leah Remini is a good person. She got sucked up into Scientology. I mean, her mother brought her there as a 12-year-old. What was she supposed to do? That people get sucked into things and then they go, holy crap, like this is a terrible thing. But I want to bring in this other point that a woman who was on, I don't know, I think she was a trustee. And she told me that some of these guys, and there are women too, that went to AA that were not sent there, but they know that women are very, very vulnerable, and men are doing this too. I mean, women and, men on men sex. I mean, it's like the gay community, and that they go to AA. They're not even being forced to go there. But was it Newsweek? Remember it was Playboy. I think it was Playboy did a whole spread in the 1980s about how AA was a great place to pick up sober women. Do you know that about the history? Yeah, Paul Cleary told me that story, and he actually would talk about it all the time when he was trying to make AA safer. And AA got filled with a lot of people looking for sober women. And maybe some of those guys are okay, but predators know that vulnerable women are there, and they're not going to go to the police. Even worse than the normal scenario, because they met him where? Oh, you met in AA, and you're going to come here? So it's kind of even worse than the Harvey Weinstein story.
They're going to start, because of your persistence and dedication with the 13-step film, which we all know what 13-step means. I mean, 13 step in Alcoholics Anonymous means that a person is going to try to prey on a newcomer. Okay.
Mhm.
And we see that happen. And when I used to see it happen, I used to go right up to their face. Okay. Look, I'm from back east. You think I'm going to let that shit happen? It's around me? No. Okay. So
Mhm.
I didn't let that happen. I mean, if it was in my meeting or whatever, I'm not going to let that shit happen. I can't go to every meeting, but what Monica's doing right now is she's helping save people from this predatory, what word do you use? Predatorial atmosphere, right? Which
Yeah,
is
it's predatory
alcoholism.
behavior, atmosphere. It's some of it's sexual harassment. Calling it. Yeah, I mean, but I think, Bobby, that's even what's worse than the whole sexual predation part is this mind fuck. That's what people are really talking about more than, I mean, trust me, there's plenty of the other stuff still being brought to my attention. People leaving who were hurt and were raped and molested as children, underage people, the whole gamut, right? If you come in and you think that they're spiritual, we're not religious, you hear it over it, we're spiritual. And the fake intimacy where this is before COVID, everybody's like sitting really close together. You're holding hands with strangers. You're getting hugs. Maybe your family's angry at you, so nobody's hugging you at home. Your wife or your husband are saying, you're out of here if you don't quit. You better go to that AA and straighten up. So even when the guy or the gal comes home and she's starting to say, I'm sober, and they're still angry. They're still angry at that person. So when they go into a meeting, they're getting love bombed. It's like, oh, hi, good for you. Oh, we're so proud of you. When they go home, they don't get that. And so the bond starts to really get strong with those people. And trust me, it's a false sense of intimacy. And how do we know? Because when you leave, they all drop you, or the handful. I have a handful of friends still. But most people that are coming into the Facebook groups, they lose everybody except for one or two.
Yeah.
If
Now,
that.
and look, whoever's watching this, the viewers, me and Monica are talking about, I don't know if Monica is, but I am, all 12-step programs. I'm talking about all 12-step programs because Al-Anon, they want the family. See, alcohol wasn't enough for AA. Marty Mann's whole project, it was a manipulation and a propaganda and a promotion of something greater than what she realized. Marty wasn't even that smart to realize what the hell they were feeding her and making her do, because they wanted to take the whole family. They wanted your whole family, ladies and gentlemen, not just,
right.
They wanted your
family.
kids.
It's a family disease, Bobby.
That's right. They want
Bullshit.
your kids. They want
no
your kids.
such thing as
They
a
want your
family
wife.
disease.
They want your husband in AA, your wife in Al-Anon, your kids in Alateen. They want everything. Then you can go to ACOA, CODA meetings. You can buy books. You can buy tapes. You can buy this.
Oh, and SLOA now? I mean, I'm sorry, guys, but sex isn't an addiction. There was an expert. When it started to grow here in Los Angeles, there was a woman who's doing research at UCLA, and she was on the news. I couldn't believe it. And she said, I'm sorry, guys, but we're doing the research. Sex is not an addiction. It's a behavior. Now, gambling, they found out could be considered possibly from when they studied the brain that it could be addictive, but they built it up. And now Hollywood started making stories about that and, making it like it's called an addiction. And I'm like, dude, it's like food. Food is not an addiction. Eating is a behavior. They want everybody. They have Emotions Anonymous. Okay. They have Rapist Anonymous. I'm not kidding. Law and Order SVU did a episode called Rapist Anonymous. It's disgusting that any nonprofit would allow them to go on and make like 50 different kind of things. Nicotine Anonymous, whatever. That's benign because it's never grown. But why has Al-Anon never really grown? You ever ask yourself that? Al-Anon has stayed very small.
Well,
you know how I know? I go back to Hawaii. You saw that AA was growing, NA grew. Al-Anon's meeting book was still like really, really small. Al-Anon got sued. They got sued and they lost. And I tried to find the stuff, online because you can find, but all that stuff got hidden. because they had a thing called Alatot, not just Alateen. Can you imagine this crap? Alateen got sued. And now if you're in Alateen, right, they do background checks on anyone who gets involved in Alateen.
I don't blame them. Sexual predators.
Mhm.
Sponsorship is another podcast we could do. That's a bunch of shit. Sponsorship is hey, look, I always say I'm a friend in recovery and beyond. I'm talking about beyond recovery. We're in recovery from, you know what I'm in recovery from today? I'm in recovery from the friggin' lies of the government and the Hollywood and the media and the religions. That's what I'm in recovery from today. But I look at it as, look, sponsorship. You got a kid that comes in, you got a guy that comes, a girl or a guy comes in, they got 3 days sober and they're going to go to the guru that has 6 months. Okay. So the guru with 6 months is going to tell them what to do and how to live their life. And then the guru with 6 months got somebody with 2 years, never went to therapy, never did any one-on-one group or groups, or never went out into the world and experienced anything else. These are therapists. They're, you know what they are? Look, I did a podcast on exactly how they are like the church. Okay. Sponsors are priests. Okay. Does everyone know what priests are doing lately? Huh? In the Catholic Church? Okay. I don't know if you're Catholic, but I was Catholic, and they're exposing priests all the time in the Catholic religion.
Right.
So
You know what they were
sponsorship is the same way.
Oh my God. So when I was kind of really digging, when the whole pedophilia was really being exposed, and that started in the 80s, and then it really got a lot of exposure, and the lawsuits happened in the 90s, and it continued. And then we had the movie Spotlight, and you see how it got covered up in Boston because everybody, wherever you turned, knew a priest, right? And people couldn't really speak out about it. But I'm telling you that they were being sent to these retreats, Bobby. And you know what they studied at the retreat?
12 steps, probably. I don't know.
That's right. Oh, they were powerless.
Oh, yeah.
They were powerless over molesting children.
You have to be powerless because
That's
God
sick.
will save you.
That is some sick crap.
God will save you.
And they moved them around. They did some bad. But the Catholic churches had, at least they got exposed big time. The Boy Scouts exposed. AA is the next. Is it the last one?
No, it's
maybe. I mean, look, we got Hollywood, we got Weinstein exposed. We got, what's his name, Kevin Spacey. These people, AA needs to be exposed way bigger than my film, Bobby.
Yeah, it's all connected. Connect the dots, follow the money, and it all leads you to all these hierarchies: Hollywood, government, politics, religion. It's all interconnected. What can I say? You got to, sometimes you got to go outside the box of just thinking one way, and you got to go even further out. People will say, "Oh, it's a conspiracy. What are you, a conspiracy theorist?" No, I said I'm a conspiracy exposer. And if you don't think conspiracies happen every day, everything's a friggin' conspiracy, no matter what.
There's a guy who wrote a piece in Harper's, and boy, I tried to get him to interview him. The story is unbelievable. A guy comes from Canada. I'm going to try to make it Reader's Digest. He comes from Canada. He comes to LA. He comes to North Hollywood, and he's a stepper. He's doing surgery. He was doing surgery. He wasn't even a doctor in Canada on children, on boys. I mean, it's a bizarre story. This guy, who is a writer in Harper's, he finally, I guess, decides to tell the story about he was unbelievably molested by this man through his mother. So his mother was single. And long story short, he lives with it. He keeps it secret. This guy molested him in the car, and he did it over and over and over again. So the mother marries, and he has a stepdad, and they go to New York, and I think he's in college, and he tells him about what happened to him. But now her husband, his stepfather, is a bigwig in AA. He's got 17 years, and he wants to come out, and he wants to expose it. And his stepfather suppresses him because we don't want to tarnish that name of Alcoholics Anonymous. It is a tragic story that it got published, and it's in Harper's Magazine. I could get the title of it, but I couldn't believe it when I read it. It was really.
I believe it. There's nothing I don't
Bobby,
believe
thank
with
you
that.
for having me on here with you tonight. We'll be doing lots more shows. I took notes on other topics that I'd like to discuss with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna just leave. I'm gonna say goodbye to Monica, but I just want to say, I do podcasts. I'm a de-occultist. I'm a de-occultist because Alcoholics Anonymous is a cult.
Yep.
A cult means hidden knowledge. Okay, that's what a cult means. Hidden knowledge. It's secretive. What do you think it's anonymous for? They call it Alcoholics Anonymous because it's a secret. Okay, we're exposing the secret. We're exposing the occult. We're the occultist. Okay, we're
So why
exposing.
why isn't it secret for Elton John or for Russell Brand? Like, why isn't it secret for Anthony Hopkins or Bradley Cooper or Jane Lynch or all these people that have joined AA and broken their own anonymity and brag about it?
Yeah, but here's the thing, Monica. Just to close on this, listen. We all think that because we see these movie stars that they're above us, they're special. I know they're not. I put them on the same field as me. I don't put them up on pedestals. They're human beings that are brainwashed. Okay, they are brainwashed, just like the rest of the. You don't think they're brain? You don't think they know? Plus, they're getting something out of it. They don't know. Right. They don't even know what they're doing. That's how indoctrinated they are. Plus, it's in the culture. It's in the Hollywood culture to protect.
It's in the culture, period. It's in it's in like American culture now. It's so deeply ingrained there.
Monica, thank you so much for being here with me.
Bobby.
I really appreciate it. And for the listeners, I hope you got something out of what we're saying. And we'll see you next podcast. So don't forget, I'm going to just say, don't forget, come over to Facebook, Anonymous Addiction at My Truth About Bobby C. As Bobby C sees it, Monica, say goodbye.
Bye. Don't forget to tell them subscribe to your channel. I forgot this for long. Subscribe, like it, share it. I know, subscribe, please, like, share, please. And then I'll share it in my spheres. And we're
going to see Monica on her podcast soon. So take care now. Bye bye.